Welcome back, Mr. Lester, first of all.
Gracias.
Y seguimos en castellano. Welcome back es porque estuvo aquí hace unos cuantos años, estábamos intentando contar cuántos, en todo caso hace bastante tiempo. No es hombre dado a la nostalgia, eso lo sabemos. No es persona a la que le guste perder demasiado tiempo en recordar los good old times, pero en este caso es estrictamente necesario. ¿Qué recuerda de aquella estancia en Gijón en los 60?
Well, my first memory is being invited for a film which already was 4 years old, but it came and it got a second prize as a short film. And since it was a film that only cost £40 to make, I think it probably took a long time walking here. But I remember Gijón as then, to me, a town very much at the beginning of a transition from an industrial town into a more cultural and modernized. And then I came back, I think, I'm trying to remember, sometime in the late 1960s. And my memory of that is that, as very kindly, someone had a large party in the evening with a Beatles tribute band, except that there were 5 Beatles. And I was always trying to work out from that time on why there are 5 Beatles in Gijón and 4 every place else.
Aquí decimos que todo grandón, todo lo grande, 5 Beatles.
Yes. And now, looking at what, in the little time that we've been here, we're astonished at how various parts of the town have changed and cleaned. I think everybody, since I was last here, has been out with toothbrushes. This is cleaning it, and it's a totally transformed place.
Hay que hablar también de otro pasado, el de su relación profesional con Yvonne Blake, a quien ha venido a acompañar.
I am here as her guest. Yes.
¿Qué puede recordar? ¿Qué recuerda de su colaboración con ella, del modo que tenían de trabajar? ¿Hay algún recuerdo en particular que guarde de esas películas que compartieron?
Well, I think she'll have to tell you, but I think we made 7 or 8 films together. But in all of them, the memories are the fact that there was never enough money for the costumes. And for some magical way, Yvonne could turn pieces of cloth into pieces of absolute beauty, which had a context and a purpose and helped the film. I think it was probably because she learned her job cutting, and, you know, on the floor, working with materials, that she could then take a bit of cloth and turn it into something which was so magical. I'm thinking especially, of course, of Tres y Cuatro Mosqueteros, because we were always without money for sets, for cars. They said, here we're going to take you by beautiful limousines to all the locations, and we all thought that was fine. And then they put 6 of us in each car and told the drivers they must not put the air conditioning on because it would cost too much. So, you know, it was that kind of film. But with all that, there was Yvonne turning up with the costumes from Conejos in Madrid, you know, of such glory that I remember actors seeing the first of the big scenes in La Quaranta or Aranjuez, bursting into tears. You know, and normally actors only do that when they're not paid.
Un cierto talento para la magia, un cierto talento para lo mágico. Hablemos un poco, si le parece, en retrospectiva de su trabajo, aunque tampoco es demasiado amigo de echar la mirada atrás, pero revisando estas semanas atrás su obra, de la que debo decir que soy un devoto.
Big fan of your work, and I've been checking it for the past few weeks, and doing that I realized you're saying.
Me he dado cuenta de que hay una relación de Richard Lester ambivalente con los mitos de la cultura contemporánea.
You have a quite ambivalent relationship with pop culture myths.
I think it would be dangerous to look for conclusions, because some jobs you do because you think this is the film you must make before you die. Some films you make because that's the only way you can get to do something else. And sometimes you make films for the sake of friendships with actors, crews, writers, where you suddenly get into a project too far, and if you stop, a lot of friends will suffer.
Yeah.
And you know, it's easy to think that we all have total control of our lives, and that we only make what we want to do, and we have the complete dictatorial power. It's never the case.
Yeah, hacemos lo que podemos hacer.
Yeah, and for example, I've made films with comic book characters, Superman, but I had never chosen to do them. I have never had any interest in comics, but I did it to help somebody out, and then got stuck with part of a dynasty.
Pero lo cierto es que hay un toque, hay una forma, una aproximación a ese tipo de personajes que, sin sacar grandes conclusiones, si no queremos, sí que es muy propia de usted. En el caso de los mosqueteros, en el caso de Superman, en el caso de Harry Flash, una serie de personajes a los que de alguna manera la proximidad con Richard Lester desmitologiza, ¿no?
If not demystifying, it's more leave the myth where it is, but go around the back and see where the myth starts to fall apart. That's why Robin Hood, as an old man, there's a lot, and that's why I had trouble with a superhero, because you have only myth. There's no reality at the round the back. Nobody cares how much it costs Lois Lane to have an apartment in Metropolis, or how much her shoes cost. And that's, I try to make my films about those realities, but looked obliquely. I've never really made anything erotic, because rather than see that scene on the bed, I would rather have the next morning with the chambermaid taking the sheets to the laundry.
Y eso no es erótico. Considera, no obstante, que vista su obra por usted mismo en perspectiva, ¿hay algo en particular de la época que ha vivido que se le haya adherido a ella, que esté presente en su obra?
After the first time with some perspective, do you think there's something from the time you were shooting the film that got stuck into the film?
It's impossible not to. We always talk about espejos. You know, I hope it's an espejo triple. You know, that you can see in the round what's going on, but you cannot divorce what's now. If you look at it, for example, Musketeers, from the time it was made in 1921, and then 1940 with Gene Kelly, and then the Three Stooges, and then mine, and then those that come after it. They all reflect their own times, when the costumes were shown to Ivana and me from the Gene Kelly one. I think Milady was Lana Turner in an Angora sweater, you know, and you know, that seemed perfectly natural. our film seemed perfectly natural to us. We think we got history right. But every director feels he gets history right. But what he's doing is he's showing history through his own mirror.
Y al revés, ¿cree que su cine de alguna manera ha contribuido a definir de alguna manera el tiempo en el que ha trabajado, el tiempo en el que ha vivido?
And do you think your films have helped define the times you have lived?
Not really. No, I don't think so. I think there are few films which absolutely nail down a society and the way it thinks, and either cause that to change or so identifies it that is that generation. I would like to, people have said that Hard Day's Night, the first Beatles film, was as close to being a representation of what the beginning of the 60s was to London. But there are many other films that were made at the same time which did other parts of it. And I think we should not be so pretentious as to think that what one piece of our work is going to define a society.
Está bien ser humilde, pero discrepo en algo. O sea, creo que sí. Que en algo ha contribuido a definir lo que hemos visto, ¿no? La imaginería de su tiempo. Quería acabar solo dejándole constancia de dos cosas a título personal.
Finish by saying these two things on a personal basis. This comes straight from me, he's saying.
Y de parte de muchos espectadores de su obra que me lo han hecho saber así también. Su cine produce una gran felicidad.
Well, for this I am glad to make my third visit, my hat-trick visit to Gijón.
Okay. Pero también le tengo que decir, y esto ya es una observación mía personal, que aparte de esa gran felicidad, también me deja siempre un punto de melancolía. ¿Tiene alguna explicación?
I'm always also left with a bit of melancholy. Is there any explanation? I mean, I'm really happy, but there's this sort of feeling. Or that maybe
I'm not sure that I am the one that can answer that. If you find that melancholy, that's possible. I have always tried to find humor in the most disappointing circumstances. I think they go very well together, and it's the way I know how to work. How they come to you 20, 30, 40 years later, it should be left to you. All I say is I'm glad you're still watching them.
Aunque solo fuera por eso, por encontrar el humor en las circunstancias aparentemente con menos humor, ya merecería la pena haber visto sus películas. Así que muchísimas gracias y, lo dicho, welcome back.
Gracias.